Good wishes to all of you. Social Science, our environment textbook in geography for class 7, chapter 3, our changing earth audiobook. Take a look at figure 3.1, evolution of landforms. Earth movements, endogenic forces, exogenic forces. Endogenic forces divided into two, sudden forces, diastrophic forces, and sudden forces divided into three, earthquake, volcano, landslides. Dystrophic forces divide into one, building mountains. Exogenic forces after a process, erosional and depositional, river, wind, sea waves, glaciers. Activity: take a small colored paper pellet and put it in a beaker half filled with water. Place the beaker on a tripod stand and heat it. As the water warms up, you will observe that the paper pellet is moving upward along with the warm layers of water and then sinks back along with the cooler layers of water. The molten magma inside the earth moves in a similar manner. Glossary: Lithospheric lithospheric plates. The Earth's crust consists of several large and some small, rigid, irregularly shaped plates, slabs which carry continents and the ocean floor. The lithosphere is broken into a number of plates known as the lithospheric plates. You will be surprised to know that these plates move around very slowly, just a few millimeters each year. This is because of the movement of the molten magma inside the earth. The molten magma inside the earth moves in a circular manner as shown in the activity. The movement of these plates causes changes on the surface of the earth. The earth movements are divided on the basis of the forces which cause them. The forces which act in the interior of the earth are called as endogenic forces, and the forces that work on the surface of the earth are called as exogenic forces. Take a look at figure 3.1. Endogenic forces sometimes produce sudden movements and at the other times produce slow movements. Sudden movements like earthquakes and volcanoes cause mass destruction over the surface of the earth. Take a look at figure 3.2, a volcano. Mantle, crust, magma chamber, lava, vent, crater, gases and ash. Word origin: endo inside, exo outside. Endo plus genic, endogenic, endo plus exo plus origin, exogenic. A volcano is a vent opening in the earth's crust through which molten materials erupt suddenly. Take a look at figure 3.2. Similarly, when the lithospheric plates move, the surface of the earth vibrates. The vibrations can travel all around the earth. These vibrations are called earthquakes. Take a look at figure 3.3. The place in the crust where the movement starts is called the focus. The place on the surface above the focus is called the epicenter. Vibrations epicenter. Vibrations travel outwards from the epicenter as waves. Greatest damage is usually closest to the epicenter and the strength of the earthquake decreases away from the center. Take a look at figure 3.3, origin of an earthquake. Focus: this is where the earthquake occurs. It is the origin of the seismic energy. Plate boundary, epicenter. Seismic waves radiate out in all directions. Activity: take a container, fill it with water and close it with a lid. Put the water to boil. Now put some peas, spoon and beads on top on the lid. What do you notice? As the water boils, the lid begins to shake. The things which you have put on the lid also vibrate. The beads roll down and the spoon vibrates to make a sound. In the same manner, the earth vibrates when an earthquake occurs. Do you know there are three types of earthquake waves? P waves of longitudinal waves, S waves or transverse waves, L waves or surface waves. Try to find out the properties of these waves from an Encyclopedia. Take a look at figure 3.3a. Destruction caused by an earthquake in Gujarat. Although earthquakes cannot be predicted, the impact can certainly be minimized if we are prepared beforehand. Some common earthquakes predictions methods adopted locally by people include studying animal behavior. Fish in the ponds get agitated, snakes come to the surface. Earthquake, a study, a case study. Earthquake hits Bhuj. A massive earthquake measuring 6.9 on Richter scale hit Bhuj town on 26 January 2001. School worst affected. At least 971 students and 31 teachers are feared to have lost their lives following the collapse of school buildings. Bhuj relief effort blighted. 3 days after the medical supplies quake, concern rose, not reaching everyone about food blankets. 4. Destruction of Bhuj. Phone lines, water pipelines, and power stations transmissions lines were knocked out. Fire in the city. Hundreds of fires started as charcoal cookers overturned. 6. Emergency declared in quake zone. The President declares a state of emergency. CM appeals to the center. Gujarat appeals for financial help. Chief Minister of Gujarat has launched. Gujarat appealed for an appeal for the financial help. The center to deal with Chief Minister of the disaster. Gujarat has launched. Do you know an earthquake is measured with a machine called a seismograph? The magnitude of the earthquakes is measured on the Richter scale. An earthquake of 2.0 or less can be felt only a little. An earthquake over 5.0 can cause damage from things falling. A 6.0 or higher magnitude is considered very strong, and 7.0 is classified as a major earthquakes. A seismography. Read the earthquake, a case study given in the form of headlines that appeared in the newspapers after the quake, arrange the events in the right sequence of their happening. To imagine if a quake suddenly shook in the middle of the school day, where would you go for safety? Earthquake preparedness. Where to take shelter during an earthquake? Safe spot under a kitchen counter, table or desk, against an inside corner or wall. Stay away from fireplaces, areas around chimneys, windows, what shelter including mirrors and picture frames. Be prepared. Spread awareness amongst your friends and family members and face any disaster confidently. Major landforms. Major landforms. The landscape is being continuously worn away by two processes, weathering and erosion. Weathering is the breaking up of the rocks on the earth's surface. Erosion is the wearing away of the landscape by different agents like water, wind and ice. The eroded material is carried away to transported by water, wind etc. and eventually deposited. This process of erosion and deposition create different landforms on the surface of the earth. Work of a river. The running water in the river erodes the landscape. When the river tumbles at steep angle over very hard rocks or down a steep valley side, it forms a waterfall. Take a look at figure 3.4. 3.4 Waterfall. Hard rock, softer rock undercut by the power of the water. As the river enters the plain, it twists and turns, forming large bends known as meanders. Due to continuous erosion and deposition along the sides of the meander, the ends of the meander loop come closer and closer. In due course of time, the meander loop cuts off from the river and forms a cut-off lake, also called an oxbow lake. At times, the river overflows its banks. This leads to the flooding of the neighboring areas. As it floods, it deposits layers of fine soil and other material called sediments along its banks. This leads to the formation of a flat fertile floodplain. The raised banks are called levees. As the river approaches the sea, the speed of the flowing water decreases and the river begins to break up into a number of streams called distributaries. The river becomes so slow that it begins to deposit its load. Each distributary forms its own mouth. The collection of sediments from all the mouths forms a delta. Take a look at figure 3.5, features made by a river in a floodplain. Floodplains, leaves, meanders, oxbow lake. Do you know there are thousands of small waterfalls in the world? The highest waterfall is Angel Falls of Venezuela in South America. The other waterfalls are Nigeria Falls located on the border between Canada and USA in North America, and Victoria Falls on the border of Zambia and Zimbabwe in Africa. The Niagara Falls. Let's do. Find out the names of a few rivers of the world that form a delta. Take a look at figure 3.6, a delta. Main river distributary. Take a look at figure 3.7, features made by sea waves. Sea cave, sea arch, stack. Take a look at figure 3.8, a glacier. Works of sea waves. The erosion and deposition of the sea waves gives rise to coastal landforms. Sea waves continuously strike at the rocks. Cracks develop over time. They become larger and wider. Thus, hollow-like caves are formed on the rocks. They are called sea caves. As these cavities become bigger and bigger, only the roof of the caves remain, thus forming sea arches. Further erosion breaks the roof and only walls are left. These wall-like features are called stacks. The steep rocky coast rising almost vertically above sea water is called sea cliff. The sea waves deposit sediments along the shores forming beaches. Work of ice. Glaciers are rivers of ice which too erode the landscape by bulldozing soil and stones to expose the solid rock below. Glaciers carve out deep hollows there. As the ice melts, they get filled up with water and become beautiful lakes in the mountains. The material carried by the glaciers, such as rocks big and small, sand and silt gets deposited. These deposits form glacial moraines. Work of wind. Have you ever visited a desert, tried to collect some pictures of sand dunes? An active agent of erosion and deposition in the deserts is wind. In deserts, you can see rocks in the shape of a mushroom, commonly called mushroom rocks. Winds erode the lower section of the rock more than the upper part. Therefore, such rocks have narrower base and wider top. When the wind blows, it lifts and transports sand from one place to another. When it stops blowing, the sand falls and gets deposited in low hill like structures. These are called sand dunes. Take a look at figure 3.9. When the grains of sand are very fine and light, the wind can carry it over very long distances. When such sand is deposited in large areas, it is called loess. Large deposits of loess is found in China. Take a look at figure 3.9, sand dunes. Exercises. Answer the following questions. Why do the plates move? What are exogenic and endogenic forces? What is erosion? How are flood plains formed? What are sand dunes? How are beaches formed? What are oxbow lakes? Take the correct answer. Which is not an erosional feature of sea waves? The depositional feature of a glacier is which is caused by the sudden movements of the earth. Mushroom rocks are found in oxbow lakes are found in. Match the following: glacier, meanders, beach, sand dunes, waterfall, earthquake. Give reasons. Some rocks have a shape of mushroom. Floodplains are very fertile. Sea caves are turned into stacks. Buildings collapse due to earthquakes. Activity. Observe the photographs given below. These are various features made by a river. Identify them and also tell whether they are erosional or depositional or landforms formed by both. Photograph, name of the feature, type erosional or depositional or both. For fun, solve the crossword puzzle with the help of given clues. Across, second, loop like the bend of a river. Solid form of water, moving mass of ice. 9. Sudden descent of water in the bed of a river. 11. Natural cavity on weak rocks formed by action of waves. 12. Embankment on a river that caves it in its channel. 13. Large body of sea water. 14. Dry area where sand dunes are found. 15. Small hill of sand caused by the action of the wind. 16. Flat plain formed by river deposits during time of flood. Down. 1. Rise and fall of water caused by friction of wind on water surface. 3. Flow of water in a channel. 5. Steep perpendicular face of a rock along a sea coast. 6. Debris of boulder and coarse material carried by glacier. 8. Crescent shaped lake formed by a meandering river. 10. Fine sand deposited by the action of the wind. 13. Isolated mass of rising steep rock near a coastline. 14. Alluvial tracts of land formed by the river deposits at the mouth of a river. Thank you.